All right, so hi Python developers. Thanks for having me. I've seen a lot of developers stagnate when they get to the middle of their career. My goal today is to inspire you to embrace the skills and the mindset needed to have a long, flourishing, ever-growing career as a developer. So let's get to it. I know that's a pretty scary statement around stagnating, right? So who am I to talk about this anyway? Well, I've had a long career as a software developer myself. In fact, I was building neural nets pre-internet before anyone knew how to spell AI. I've tackled some pretty gnarly problems over the years, built a lot of first of their kind software, and even successfully founded twice. I've been in startups, I've been in large companies, I've been an individual contributor, I've been a manager, I've been a VP of engineering and a CTO. I've seen a lot over the years and I've been on the path that you are on today. And yes, despite guiding a team of over 400 practitioners today, I can still code. I hate to share this with you, but as our companies grow, our roles within our companies actually stay pretty much flat, especially when a company goes through rapid growth. The code base gets larger, the features get more strategic and complex. Operating at scale requires people who are proficient with operating in an at-scale environment. We see the evidence of this when our companies hire from the outside instead of promoting from within. As people, we grow linearly. We learn new skills, then we put those skills into action. This takes self-awareness and a growth mindset. And it takes time for us to become proficient in these habits. Unfortunately, companies grow exponentially. So that target next career step can often feel just a little out of touch, just a little out of reach. So how can we possibly keep up with the rate of change and evolve our career exponentially? If we want to grow in our role and stay on the ride, then we need to learn fast, sometimes very fast, and immediately put new learnings into action. There's little time to settle in and take it slow. In this talk, I'm going to share with you my top 10 skills that I've put into action in my career as a developer every day. These skills help me survive and thrive and are the foundation that got me to where I am today. To truly understand a problem, we have to live in the problem. So pull on your tutu and the elephant suit and get into the mindset of your user. What are they struggling with every day? What are their desires and aspirations? Why would they ever want to use your product? As a developer, we cannot outsource the understanding of our customer to our UX, customer service, and sales team. We have to adopt it and understand it too. We must learn to connect personally with what motivates our users so that we can truly build the most effective solution. One of the most common failure points I see in developers is how fast they move directly to solutioning. When faced with a problem, they pull on their mud boots, toss on their raincoat, and jump right into the fray. Humans are hardwired to problem solve, and engineers are optimized to problem solve at breakneck speed. The moment we hear a problem, we're already begun to narrow our focus, whittle down our possibilities, put our blinders on, and create the perfect solution. I'm here to tell you that rapid solutioning without really understanding your problem is very, very bad. I challenge you to stay in the problem space as long as you possibly can. Even after we begin to solution, we must stay open to receiving new information that challenges our way of thinking. Fully understanding a problem is similar to trying to discover the secret by following a treasure map. We must be willing to listen to new information along the way and allow that information to guide us. Intentionally work on expanding our ability to perceive what is truly true, rather than what we just think is true. The role of our company leadership is to set direction that will align everyone towards success. Our leaders create company-level goals and they cascade them down into the organization. Our job is to execute effectively toward those goals. Goal setting is another common thing I've seen technology teams do incorrectly, to great detriment to themselves and to their company. Release feature X is not a goal. There's no user outcomes from releasing your code. Success comes only when the code we release drives positive outcomes for the users. Instead, a good goal would be something like increase adoption of feature X by paying customers. Our role as a developer is to emotionally connect with the why that goal is so important to our users. This is our opportunity to channel what it's like to be a user, wearing the tutu and walking around in the elephant suit. The goal we set, chart the course. So it's critically important that the goals we set don't walk us off a cliff. It's unlikely we'll be able to really scale our careers past a mid to senior level role if we don't understand how to deeply connect with the problems our end users are facing. If your company is doing OKRs, then when I'm talking about goals, I'm talking about the O in OKRs, objectives. If we don't have clear goals, then all we're doing is licking our finger, holding it in the air, and trying to guess which way the wind blows. Last time I checked, that was the least effective way to grow a company and to grow our careers. Yet, so many developers passively sit around waiting for someone else to decide how their career is going to progress. Many of us are so overly confident that we believe we have the right solution to any challenge that faces us. This plays out all the time in product roadmaps everywhere. If we build X, they will come. And engineers believing they have the right way to architect a complicated feature. The truth is that our opinions are just that, opinions. And any solution we decide to implement is simply a hypothesis. Everything we do is an experiment. If we don't, it doesn't matter how beautiful our opinion is if, in the end, it doesn't drive the outcomes with our users that we desire. Don't stop caring as soon as you release the code. Ensure that you're achieving those positive outcomes. If we don't achieve our outcomes, then our experiment is a failure. The effective senior developer is one that's truly humble enough to question all their own assumptions and never settle for average. We must choose to live in a world that expects failure, recognizes that failure when it happens, and learns to adapt. In fact, I encourage you to celebrate your failures. It's through our failures that we learn the most. The quicker we can activate this cycle of failing, learning, and adapting, the more effective and successful we'll be. When we make an enormous bet on a new major feature that's going to take several months to implement, we're creating enormous risk for our companies. We have to stop assuming that the decisions we're making are automatically going to transfer into success many months from now. Yes, we're all guilty of that, even you, even me. The job of a developer isn't to just release as many features as we can, it's also to manage and reduce risk. When we realize our job is also about to manage and reduce risk, then this mindset requires us to stop working on an experiment or a feature that isn't driving the outcomes we desire. We have to have the courage to raise our hands when we see a risky endeavor and question the approach. So how do we get better at this? Well, we need to keep score. So let's pretend that in pro football, they just played the game for pure enjoyment and didn't actually keep score. How would we know who would win? Would we even enjoy the game if they didn't keep score? So why do so many development teams never pay attention to the actual outcomes they drive with their users and don't use any metrics at all? I'm astounded by the number of companies that only track their financials. They don't have any other metrics that measure the effectiveness of their product. So we've talked about the importance of goals. Then we talked about how everything is an experiment. The only way to know if our experiment is a success is to actually measure that success. This skill is perhaps the only application I've found for my college physics class. We need to prove it. If you're doing OKRs at your company and you have deliver feature X as a measure, you're also doing OKRs wrong. The act of delivering a feature tells you nothing about the success or failure of that experiment. Yeah, again, you have to measure those outcomes. So how do you do that? So I'm a big fan of scorecarding. This is what it looks like when we bring goals, measures, and experiments together. In this example, we have a goal. This should look like a typical goal you'll see from your company leadership. We've laid out several experiments that our developers feel can move this goal forward. And we've identified the measures by which we know we'll be successful. In this example, I've used a simple red, yellow, and green scorecard. Each experiment is mapped to the measure it's intended to drive. After we release a feature, only then can we begin to measure how effective that experiment was to drive forward the outcomes and measures that we defined. In case you didn't see what I did there, I've redefined OKRs as gems. The concept of OKRs is so confusing for so many developers because it's missing the key piece where developers plug in and spend most of their time. And just about everyone I coach stumbles on this. OKRs are missing the actions, they're missing the experiments. GEMS draws the clear lines our developers need to tie their daily work into the success of the company. It articulates a clear separation between the actions we take and the outcomes we drive. Plus, well, GEMS is just a way cooler name. Imagine talking about that black diamond goal, or let's get that amethyst into its setting quickly. Without feedback, we have no idea if the things we're doing are going without feedback, we have no idea if the things we're doing are going good or turning bad. I know so many developers that don't want to hear feedback, don't think they need to pair program, and don't want a mentor. And I'm sad to say those are the same developers that eventually tap out in their careers. They end up moving aimlessly from job to job, seeking the next promotion to validate how great they are, and never truly commit to learning and personal growth. I talked earlier about the importance of understanding the problem. Once we understand our user's problem from their point of view, then we can act. We must apply the same rigor to how we listen to feedback on ourselves. Listening involves not just hearing what people have said. The act of listening requires that we make a conscious, intentional effort to take in, digest it, and understand the other person's point of view. Our perception of ourselves might be our own reality, but it's not actually the truth. The truth is, who we are lies somewhere between who we think we are and how others experience interactions with us. If we want to truly grow, we have to seek the truth. And the truth is that we all have something to learn. I often hear senior and staff developers talking about how they don't want to do that management stuff. But when I question what they mean by this, I find out that their aversion isn't actually to management stuff at all. They have an aversion to stepping into strategic problem solving, which requires new skills like collaboration, conflict management, negotiation, influence, and all those other scary skills. We actually spend the first few years of our development career coding, but coding is really only a way to document a solution. During these early years, we're all really just apprentices learning the skill. At some point, we have to graduate to doing the real job of a developer, and that is to problem solve. Many developers never make it over this gap because it requires them to get out of their comfort zone again, learn new skills, and lead from the front. Surround yourself with mentors who will help find opportunities for you to learn to problem solve. Get up to the whiteboard, get in front of the client, and mentor other junior developers. Whether you want to stay on the icy individual contributor track, or move toward management. These skills are necessary prerequisite for both of these tracks. So I'm speaking right now to senior and staff level developers here. Have the courage to step in and do these skills, and have the courage to be uncomfortable while you learn. And ask your mentors to continually push you to do so. Growth doesn't happen magically for companies or people. I see skill stagnation happen most often when people get to that senior developer level. This is the stage in their careers where it's no longer sufficient to just be coding. This is the point developers have to start embracing new competencies that will take them forward into staff level roles and beyond. So whether you want to stay on that technical path or move toward the manager path, you have to build new skills like architectural design, mentoring and coaching, visioning, roadmaps, aligning to metrics, process optimization, organizational design, conflict management, strategic decision-making. These are all the skills that both technical and managerial paths require to become proficient in if we want to continue to grow our careers. The line between senior and staff as a developer is typically when roles start to become more strategic. Our businesses rely on us to lead the way. And this next step requires us to embrace and learn a whole new set of skills if we want to continue to grow. So we really need to stop our wishful thinking that only our coding skills can get us everywhere we want to go, and instead start to cultivate our leadership skills as well. Most developers say they want to stay in a technical role and not move into management. That's totally awesome. The world needs more technical leadership, and every team needs a technical lead. In fact, there are likely more technical lead roles than there are engineering management roles. To be an effective technical lead, you need to be able to influence, guide, mentor, and teach the other members of your team. If you want to follow this path, then we need to embrace the skills required to be effective in this role. So always be learning new skills. Always be improving your existing skills. For example, if you aren't proficient in conflict management, you're not going to be an effective tech lead when you've got 3 teammates arguing about how to design a component. So that's an example of building a skill to build. So I taught you gems a few minutes ago. So dust off that learning, decide which technical leadership skill you're going to develop this year, write down a goal, and run some personal experiments to build that skill. If we want to learn to continue to grow our career, then we have to take personal ownership over the skills we're going to learn and experiences we're going to take on to get there. And then we proactively drive our personal growth plan. We learn how to play games pretty early in life, right? Once we learn the rules and we follow those rules each time we play, we build experience playing that game, which helps us win the game more effectively and quickly. This idea of how you learn and grow to play in a game, this is your personal playbook for the game. In fact, this entire playbook, this entire talk is my playbook for my career. A playbook addresses the most common challenges you occur, defines process workflows, standard operating procedures, and cultural values that shape a consistent and effective response. In other words, the play. So when you're deep into a gnarly situation, we should all have a known play at our disposal that gets us out of that situation. Having playbooks for everything we do in our development teams is critical to our success. Things like game day exercises, incident response, getting back on track when a feature is falling behind. These are all plays within your playbook. We also need personal playbooks, things like asking to pair with someone when you're feeling stuck, or escalating to your team lead when you know you're behind on your estimate. If you don't know your plays, then go figure them out. You should have a play for just about everything you do. Command and control structures are a highly disconnected way of operating. Getting angry because someone disappointed you is pretty much toxic behavior. Controlling behavior and anger are not effective ways or means to inspire others. And the sign of a true leader is one that inspires others to perform and guides them back on track when they veer away. We can either choose to be right or we can choose to be effective, but we really can't do both. So what you're gonna do? The only way to truly understand a person is to stand on the other side of the fence and put yourself into their shoes. Empathy opens our heart. We let in our feelings. We understand each other more. We connect on a much deeper level. Empathy is important because it helps us understand how others are feeling so that we can respond appropriately to the situation. Empathy is a superpower. It places us in touch with the most effective way to work together to achieve our goals. Successful developers focus on achieving goals. They know the way to do that is to build a strong and highly aligned team. Empathy is also a catalyst for success. Here's how empathy works. When you show empathy to others, an emotional connection is formed. Their defensive energy goes down, positive energy replaces it, positive energy opens us up, it triggers inspiration, inspiration triggers ideas, ideas drive more creative problem solving, and creative problem solving brings us solutions that we would never have had otherwise. Half our challenges are technical. The second half of our challenges are us getting in our own way. And the third half is caused by someone else getting in their own way. Being a great developer is challenging. Continuing to grow as a developer is even more complex. Our minds resist complexity. It hates it when the path forward isn't clear. So we try to seek simplicity, but that eventually leads to just homeostasis. However, we must accept and embrace the complexity of the systems around us if we're going to operate effectively and grow. We have to think beyond the simple and become self-aware systems thinkers. A butterfly gains sustenance from the nectar of a flower. When it flits from flower to flower, it carries the pollen with it. This germinates into fruit, which eventually brings us sustenance. So just like any complex system, the decisions we make have ramifications. Some of them are clear, and others are very subtle or even invisible. We need to strengthen our awareness to see 2, 3, 4 steps further ahead, both in the way we do our jobs and in our own career development. If something isn't clear or isn't taking you forward on the path you want, don't just accept it. Create a goal and a playbook to strengthen it. Stop being reactive and instead learn to proactively chart the course. Life and work is complicated. This could easily overwhelm us and shut us down. Being self-aware requires focus and resiliency. The more self-aware we are, the more we realize the complexity of the systems we live in. When things get difficult around us, we need to step back and objectively outline the gap between where we are today and where we want to be. It can be painful to stay where we are, but it's also hard to grow. So I'm going to challenge you to pick which hard you want to go after, staying or growing, because they're both hard. So why not chart our course and determine our plays to set ourselves on the most desirable path? Our diverse worldviews and experiences mean that we all approach the exact same problem slightly differently. This is actually a great thing. We receive the message constantly that the world around us, from the world around us, that we must be self-sufficient and that if we ask for support, there's something wrong with us. I'm going to call bullshit on that one. This is simply fear talking. It's scary to be vulnerable and ask for help, but we don't need to walk around and feel like we need to be self-sufficient. No single person has all the answers, but the collective wisdom of the community is actually exponential. There's something amazing that happens when someone says, I believe in you. When we just don't think we can do it anymore, Our community is there to support us with their energy, their resilience, their hope. When we don't have a play, never fear, because somebody in your community does have a play and they'll share it with you. The power of our community is simply magical. So I'll challenge you to build your own personal playbook for your own personal growth. Chart your own destiny. Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? Where are you holding yourself back? Who do you want to be as you grow? I challenge you to be that leader that chooses to grow exponentially. I'll leave you with my favorite quote, since it always seems appropriate to every talk I give. Wherever you go, there you are. Make sure the path you've chosen to walk down is the path you want to take. Thank you.